everyone, and welcome to Load of Scit. Now, if you're here, you probably got some questions about the SAT. Luckily, I've got some answers. Here we are with Michael's 10 pro tips on how to ace the SAT. It may seem self-explanatory, but 100% of people who don't register for the SAT don't pass the SAT. Make sure you're paying attention to College Board's exact registering dates for when the specific test is, so you avoid paying any late fees and so you can have plenty of time to prepare to not fail the test. A lot of people find taking a practice test to be a helpful way to gauge where they are before they start training. If you don't have time to take a full-length test, then doing a couple of questions from each section of the SAT is a great way to gauge where you are before you start really training, so you can focus on the things that matter most to you. Alright, does everybody see this?
Nope.
Well, if you do, then you're smart, because you know what strength is. You need to know your strengths when you go in to take the SAT. Know what you're good at, but also know what you're not good at, so you know exactly how to train and how to prepare to do amazing on this test. Hey, welcome to the SAT testing room. Come here often? If you do, then you know what super scoring is. Super scoring is an option that many colleges allow where you can take your best math score and your best English score and put them together for your #1 SAT score. And what you can do with this is you really want to know which colleges allow the super scoring option and which don't. So you can determine what you really want to focus on when studying for the SAT, math or English. But do keep in mind that some colleges do not allow for super scoring and want to see all your SAT scores. So make sure you're still doing well on that English section, even if you're really focusing on math. This is intense. Oh, there you are. Now, when you're doing the reading section of the SAT, you're going to get some pretty complicated texts, but you don't have to worry about that, because as long as you remember to skim the text before answering the questions, you should be fine. Don't completely skip over the passages, because think about it, how can you answer questions about a passage that you've never read? Also, don't deep dive into the passages where you're completely wasting all of your time sucking every bit of juicy literary marrow out of the passage. You're going to waste a lot of time, which is why you just need to skim the passages, get a general idea of the concept, and then move on to the questions. It's a time-tested strategy that has done well for me twice. It'll even do you well once. Hey everyone! On the grammar section of the SAT, a great idea is to say it out loud. No, I'm kidding, don't actually say it out loud, that'll get you kicked out of the room. But what I do mean is when you see something, if something doesn't make sense, oftentimes if you kind of say it out loud in your head, it may actually be right, because typically the correct answer often tends to be the one that sounds the most right. So use your knowledge of apostrophes and conventions when going into this, but also remember that the human ear is very perceptive. If it sounds right, oftentimes it is right. Isn't it great when you can use your calculator when you don't need it, but you can't use it when you need it most? Well, friends, that's how the SAT works. But don't fret. On the sections where you can't use a calculator, but you think you need it, remember that 3rd grade multiplication you used that you didn't think you'd ever need because you had a calculator? Guess what? You're going to need it here. Make sure you use common sense when going through the answers, using your process of elimination, and your best judgment when going for those answers that may seem difficult. And also, when you do get the calculator, you might not actually need it. It's just the SAT trying to trick you into wasting more time. Instead, remember to approach the math problems with a clear sense of reasoning and a clear ability to know what you need a calculator for and what you don't. Now back to a time-tested strategy, process of elimination. Tell me, would you rather pick from 4 answers or 2 answers? You gotta find some answers in life that you just don't think deserve your consideration and just destroy them. And by destroy them, I mean use a logical sense of reasoning to figure out the ones that don't match the question and the ones that truly do not stand out to you. You gotta get rid of those so you can narrow it down to the 2 best choices. And then, using the less options, you just need to find the correct one. It's easy. When you take the SAT, you gotta make sure you answer everything. And And by everything, I mean everything. Why? Because you don't lose points for incorrect answers. You see, the way it used to work is they said don't guess, because if you guess wrong, you'll lose points. That's not how it works anymore. Even if you guess, you may wind up guessing right, and you'll actually improve your score. So if you're down to the wire on time, or you just don't know, guess. What's the worst that could happen? Remember, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, and you fail 100% of the SAT tests that you don't try. No matter what you score, remember that this test is not an indicator of your intelligence. It just measures how well you take the SAT. Remember, colleges use this test because it's an important way for them to place mark students when considering their applications. But don't take it as a personal insult. Just try the best you can and you'll do fine. So when taking the SAT, remember, don't panic and keep calm. You'll do fine. Remember, it's a skitty world out there, so take us with you by subscribing. See ya!